I'm Alex, going to be talking about the Lakers, and for today's topic is actually the worst trades that Lakers have made, and it's going to be in my opinion. I know some other people have opinion as well, and they also have made some really amazing trades, but that's going to be for the next video. I'm not sure if this was a really horrible trade or not, but maybe at the time it was, because we did trade Shaq. Shaq was actually really amazing at that time, but he was actually getting a lot of injury. I know there was frustration with him and actually Kobe, so we had to trade at least one of them. So we traded Shaq, and we also got a guy named Lamar Odom, who turned out to be really good for us. And we got Butler. He did have an amazing year with us that year too. Then we had Brian Grant, who was just there to match up the salary, I guess, for the Shaq trade. And then we got the first round pick. Lamar, we got 2 championships with him, so that's helpful. And then Butler, I think we should have kept him, but we decided to trade him for a center. That was horrible, so I'm going to be talking about that right now. In that one season that Butler did play with the Lakers, he did average 15 points, and that was his best point average at that time. And then we traded him to the Washington Wizards with Chucky Atkins for Kwame Brown and also a guy named Profit. This was trade horrible. Actually, Butler did turn out to be a 2-time All-Star with the Washington Wizards in 2007 and 2008. While Kwame Brown, the only positive thing about him was actually he was traded to the Grizzlies for Pau Gasol. That's the only positive thing I could think of about Kwame Brown, but because he couldn't even catch the ball or anything else. But at least he got traded for Pau Gasol. And the next trade I'm gonna have is actually Nick Van Exel. This guy I really like a lot. He was an exciting player to actually watch as well when I was a young kid, and it kind of sucked to actually see him go, because I guess he had a lot of bad attitude as well, and probably want to play a lot of minutes as well. But Lakers weren't gonna give him that because they have like a guy named Eddie Jones, who I'm going to bring up in trade pretty soon as well. And also a guy named Kobe Bryant, who's actually a rookie at that time, or getting to be in his second year. So we traded Nick Van Exel to the Denver Nuggets for Tony Batty and the Cleveland Cavaliers coach right now in Tyronn Lue. But we did trade Tony Batty to the Boston Celtics that year as well for Travis Knight. To me, this is a horrible trade because you didn't really get any value-wise for Nick Van Exel. I think you could have got more, and he was an all-star player with the Lakers as well. So that kind of sucks that you got nobody for Nick Van Exel, really. Made the Eddie Jones trade, I think, was unnecessary. I think you actually kept Eddie Jones. He could have been coming off the bench, but he was actually an all-star player himself at that time as well. But we traded him because they really wanted Kobe to turn out to be who Kobe Bryant did turn out to be. That's an all-star player, Hall of Famer, going to be a Hall of Famer pretty soon. While Eddie Jones at that time, he was an all-star player himself, but I guess we needed some kind of veteran, and we did trade him to the Hornets for actually Glenn Rice Jr., J.R. Reed, I believe, and then also B.J. Armstrong, while we gave up Eddie Jones and Adam Campbell to the Hornets. But to me, I think at that time we should have just kept Eddie Jones. Who knows what Eddie Jones we were going to get if Kobe was actually starting, but could have been really exciting to actually see Eddie Jones, Kobe Bryant, and even Nick Van Exel if we didn't trade any of those with Shaq. That could have been a really championship team right there. That would have been a really amazing team, but we decided to trade 2 of those guys. And the next trade is actually Spencer Haywood that Lakers got from the Utah Jazz, and Lakers gave up Dantley, who Dantley was a 23-year-old at that time, and he was still young, but he did turn out to be a 5-time All-Star with the Utah Jazz. I believe averaged over 19 points with the Utah Jazz. So that kind of stings that Lakers actually gave up a really young player who could have been really good for the Lakers, but I guess they didn't really need him at that time. And Spencer Haywood was really getting frustrated with the Utah Jazz, and so Lakers, I guess, made that trade and gave him a young player, and he turned out to be a really good player for the Utah Jazz. Even though it was a horrible trade to get Spencer Haywood, but I guess we kind of evened it out because in 1976 we actually traded Gail Rich, and he was getting old at that time, and we did get their 1979 first round pick in a corn flip, and that turned out to be a number 1 pick, and that turned out to be actually Magic Johnson, one of the greatest point guards in the game, and probably will be the best point guard. So that kind of evened out there. I was thinking putting Dwight Howard in here, but to me that's not one of the worst trades ever, because actually Andrew Bynum, he didn't really play with the 76ers. That's the only player Lakers actually really gave up was Andrew Bynum. I believe a couple draft picks as well, but Andrew Bynum, he didn't really play anything for the 76ers. It was always injury prone. I know Dwight Howard, he did leave the Lakers after this season, but to me Dwight Howard has never been the same since he left the Orlando Magic. I'm not sure how he's going to do with the Hornets, but I'm going to be talking about one of the worst trade Lakers have made, and you know who's going to be. Of course, the worst trade Lakers ever made was the Steve Nash trade. I know at that time it sounded really good, but we actually gave up 4 draft picks in a sign and trade with the Phoenix Suns to actually get Steve Nash. On paper, it sounded really good for the Lakers because they had Steve Nash and they traded Dwight Howard. And also you had Powell and also Kobe on the team as well. After playing 1 or 2 games with the Lakers, Steve Nash has never been the same. He's always been injury prone with the Lakers. Never been healthy with the Lakers. If he was healthy, that would have been a really good Steve Nash, but he was always unhealthy. And we gave up 4 draft picks for a guy who's almost in his 40s. If this was a young Steve Nash, oh, get it, but this wasn't a young Steve Nash at all. This was in his late 30s Steve Nash. We've been really lucky. We actually kept the picks for the last couple of years. I know we could have lost those picks, but we actually kept them. And the last 3 years, we got number 2 pick. And I know we gave away one of them in Russell to the Brooklyn Nets, but we got Brandon Ingram. I think he's gonna have a pretty good year, and then we got Lonzo Ball this year, so we've been lucky there. We could have lost some of these young assets for sure, but at least we do have a future. If we didn't have these picks, we probably would have lost our future and probably be rebuilding for a pretty long time. Just because of one trade, the Steve Nash trade, I know the picks is actually going to go to either 76ers or Boston Celtics. I even hate the Boston Celtics. Hopefully the pick doesn't go to them. And the 76ers, their team is pretty getting stronger, and they have really a lot of young assets for sure. So they're probably going to trade some of those players in the future, but they look really bright, especially in the East when there's barely any good East team anymore because every player is going to the West. So they have a future. I think they could probably make the playoff this year. Maybe not. Maybe next year. Who knows? Depends if they could stay healthy. But to me, I don't like losing the pick to them or Boston Celtics, especially Boston Celtics. I don't want the pick to go to them. So I'm hoping Lakers could have at least a decent year. But who knows? Because this year, the West is really deep because of all these East players going to the West now. So I'm not sure how that's going to be. But, you know, at least if Lakers can compete and play decently, I'll be happy about that. And Lonzo Ball, Ingram, even Randall, hopefully they have a good year and they progress to be a lot better player. So that's what I'm hoping for the Lakers. This is going to be it for me. This is the end of the video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed today's video. Please leave a like, subscribe, and comment down below if you want to see some more Lakers talk. I can't wait for the summer league to actually start. It's going to start today against the Clippers.